Hello, English Journal readers! Welcome to our January 2013 edition. Today, one reader asks, "Hey, I work in a team with people from abroad. They are always pushy and rude. How should I work with them efficiently?" Pushy and rude? Well, maybe they are, but let me give you some things to think about. Although it can be challenging to work with people from abroad, I honestly wouldn't be too quick to attribute your challenges to the fact that they're from another country. Think about it. If the reason we're having problems is because I'm from America and you're from Japan, there's no solution. And if we blame our problems on the different countries where we were born, we cannot solve them. So, honestly, it may be that the problems are due to being born in different countries. But I find that even people born in the same country as me can be difficult to work with. It could be the other person is just a jerk. Now let's look into this more carefully, give you a few tools that you can use to address these kinds of problems. First, separate the facts from your interpretation of the facts. Now if you observe someone's behavior as a scientist, you don't necessarily have to attribute negative motivations to their behavior. I'll give you a simple example. Suppose we go to lunch and we all are sharing a pizza, and my coworker takes the last piece of pizza. Now I might say, wow, they're very rude and inconsiderate. But that is not a behavior, that is a motivation. So I am assuming negative intention underneath of their behavior. Instead, you might want to think about the other possible explanations for the fact that they simply took the last piece of pizza. So here's two tools that you can use to explore other interpretations. One, there's something called the fundamental attribution error. For short, we just say FAE. And what this is a psychological phenomenon where human beings tend to blame other people's negative motivations for their behavior. But when we do something that's in some way negative, we blame our circumstances. So in other words, we're much harsher when we judge other people's behavior motives than when we judge our own. So beware of falling into the trap of the fundamental attribution error. Think like a scientist. What exactly did you observe? What exactly did they do? If someone walks past you in the hallway and looks down at the floor without saying hello, are they angry with you? Or were they just lost in thought? Or perhaps they were sleepy and they didn't get enough sleep last night. So there are other explanations. This is where the next tool comes in. Assume positive intent. For short, API. Imagine that there is a perfectly good reason for their behavior. In fact, imagine that you too would behave in exactly the same way if you were in the same circumstance, and then make up a story that explains their behavior, that doesn't rely on negative motivations and negative intention. Now, caution, this is not to say that your guess at your story is going to be true. We're not trying to make up a story that we think really explains why they're doing what they're doing. We're just trying to open your mind to other possible explanations for the behavior. For example, when you label somebody as pushy and selfish or rude, you're assuming one story behind their actions. But if, for example, the person who took that last piece of pizza had to skip breakfast, or ran out of money early this month and couldn't afford to buy enough food, or maybe their eyesight was poor and they couldn't see that it was the last piece, then you might have a totally different feeling about that person taking that last piece of pizza. Now, sometimes when we make up different stories, we start to be more compassionate towards the other person, and then we're willing to deal with the real challenges that we're facing with them without just being angry. When I use this technique, honestly, sometimes the only thing I can think of is the other person has a brain tumor. But even that makes me more compassionate, and then I go to them and say, help me understand your behavior. Sometimes I feel offended by what you do, but I really want to understand what's your real intention behind your behavior. Now look, there's no doubt that working with people from other countries can be challenging. Absolutely. We don't share a common culture. We don't share a common context. But don't automatically blame your interpersonal problems on the differences of culture and country of birth. Because if you do, it means there's no solution and you're likely to just give up without even trying. Give them a chance. Reach out across the cultural divide and see if you can make things right. If you can't, then maybe they are just a jerk or one of the 4% of people on this planet that are sociopaths. In that case, stay away from them. Thanks and see you next month for Ask Kimberly.